voice of women in sport.
Hello, this is Season 4, Episode 2 of The Horse Show with me, Chris Stafford. At Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage. Hello, and thanks for joining me. A Happy New Year to you all. And we kick off this new year with US event rider Elisa Wallace, who's been competing at the top level of the sport for some years now. And she's had a lot of success with Simply Priceless, the horse she was named as alternate with for the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. Johnny, as she calls him, has competed at Badminton, Burghley, and I think 3 times at the Kentucky 3-day event. And aside from a barn of eventers at all levels of the sport, Elisa is known for working with the American Mustangs to develop their potential and ultimately take them to advanced level in the sport. She takes part in Mustang Makeover demonstrations, and she's going to tell us how she finds these sturdy little horses. And I visited Elisa at her training center in North Georgia. Let's start by talking a little bit about the facility you have here.
So we have a 12-stall barn with around 280 acres, and I've been very blessed that I have a very loyal owner, Rosemary Spillane, who has been very supportive, and I'm able to work out of this great place.
Well, it is a beautiful place. So we're here on a rainy North Georgia day, but obviously you have to put up with that in the paddocks. But in terms of the barn, it's a fabulous barn, and you've got how many horses right now?
I have 12 in the barn currently, and so working-wise, I think I have 10 horses that are in training and work. Okay,
so how many of them are the full-time eventing, and what else do you do with your horses apart from eventing?
So I have the Mustangs, which I have a couple taking up stalls, and then I have the rest are pretty much off-the-track Thoroughbreds or my competition horses. So I'd say around 8 of them are the competition horses.
Okay, let's talk about each of them then and the levels they're competing at, from start to finish, from the lower levels up to your now, 5-star horse that's going to the Kentucky 3-day event this spring.
Okay, so I guess the first one I can talk about is a fairly new horse that I've gotten. His name is Play Big. I'm aiming him to the RRP. He was a horse that I found in the beginning of November, and he was pretty sore after being turned out in the pasture, and so it was kind of a gamble, so that's why I call him Gamble. And he seems to be a really fun horse. It'll be exciting to kind of follow his story, I think. So it's just been going slow with him. And then I have another off-the-track Thoroughbred that's in training as well. Very basic. We're just hacking. That horse's name is Won't Burn. He's a client's horse. And then I have another horse that's been pretty exciting for me, and his name is Sharp Decision. Now, his jockey club name was Sharp Johnny, and he was my RRP horse from this past year. And that horse, he is a war horse, so he raced 61 times. And he's a very, very good boy. And he's been a pleasure to bring along. It's over a year now, but we'll be looking forward to doing our first prelim down in Rocking Horse. So that will be exciting. And he did really well at the RRP. He was 4th overall in the eventing, and then I think 11th, if I remember, in the freestyle. So he's been a really fun horse. Then let's see. Oh, another exciting one that I have that was very generous is that my dad gave me the ride on his horse, his 1-star horse, his name, who's Munson Slew. He is a thoroughbred as well, but he is not raced. And so I was excited to kind of take the reins over on him. It was due to the fact that my 2-star horse, Riot Gear, had injured himself. So it was a minor injury, but he'll be out for this kind of upcoming season. So my dad, kind of being a good dad, gave me the ride on his horse. So I'm excited to kind of really progress with that horse and see how he's going to come along. Then, let's see, I have to go through my stalls to remember who I've got. I have my Mustang Win, who did a demonstration at the jockey club for Mustangs, and she's a spitfire, that one. So I've competed her up to the prelim level. I kind of gave her some time off, but she can be a little bit of a sassy horse. So hopefully this year she'll get back up to the prelim level and compete again, and kind of get out there for the Mustangs and stuff. Then I had Dorado, who was he's been out of the wild for 6 months now, and I competed him in the Tip Mustang Makeover. He did really well. We ended up winning that, and so I was really excited for him. Now, that horse was always kind of geared towards finding another home for him, because I have 3 Mustangs of my own, and while I would love to keep them all, I can't. So I have found a good home for him. He will actually be traveling to Michigan to be with a vet who has cattle and sheep, and he is really good at herding cows. So it's all about with the horses trying to find like what they like to do. So let's see. I know that's not 8, but I can't forget Johnny. Hello. My most important horse I have in the barn. So Johnny will be going on 6 years now, I think, being with me. That horse has taken me so many places beyond my dreams. So it really has been a pleasure to have the ride on him. And he is looking very fit and keen. And so we're excited to kind of aim him towards Kentucky again. And he just each year keeps getting better and better. He's like a fine wine, that one. So
tell us how you've said you've had him for 6 years. Then when you got him, what level was he, and how many Kentuckys have you done?
He was competed up to the CIC 3-star level. When I got him, he had been on rehab for a year from an injury, and so we have done 2 Kentuckys. Is that right? Or have I done 3? No, I've done 3 Kentuckys, sorry. So this will be going on our 4th Kentucky, and then he's done Burley and Badminton.
Right. Well, of the Burley and Badminton experiences, which one did you enjoy the most?
Burley.
Can you tell us why?
Burley was an amazing course. It was, besides not doing Kentucky and then going over there and doing your first kind of big 4-star over in England. And it was another tough cross country, as Burley always is. And it was amazing. Every time the horse is one of the best cross country horses, of course. And both of them, both Burley and Badminton, gave me very, very valuable experiences, and but the cross country on both rides on that horse, he's amazing. He's literally a cross country savant. He's so good.
You're so lucky when you have a horse like that that's just going to take you cross country over those big tracks.
Absolutely. Yes.
So looking forward to Kentucky with him then. But let's talk about the Mustangs particularly, because you've become known for rescuing, I don't know if you would call it that, but finding Mustangs and doing the extreme makeover with them. And talk a little bit about that story for people who are not familiar with that side of what you do, Elisa, how it came about and how you find the horses.
So it happened in 2012. I had my upper level horses had been injured. And it was at a time where I just had young horses, and a good friend of mine, Rebecca Bowman, had been doing Mustangs. Now, Rebecca is also the reason why I do all the makeovers that I do. So she convinced me to kind of do a Mustang makeover. It always had been on the checklist to train a Mustang. And so I ended up doing it, and they randomly select a horse for you. And so someone asked me, well, what are you going to do with it? Oh, I'm not going to keep it. What am I going to do with a little 13-hand Mustang? I'm an eventer, right? Well, after 30 days of having Fledge, I started to cry at the thought of him going to someone else, because there was such a connection with that horse, and he taught me so much. And he was such a cool horse to train. And then we ended up winning the makeover, and subsequently, I was able to get one of my biggest sponsors through Fledge, which was Eco Gold, and kind of really helped make me stand out to be a little bit different. And I do think the Mustangs are very similar to Thoroughbreds. They have big hearts. They're oftentimes stereotyped and misunderstood. And they're athletic horses. They come in a million different shapes and sizes. So my goal is to one day have one go to the upper level, the advanced level. That would be great to have a branded Mustang kick around, because so many people have told me, no, it can't happen. So that just fuels the fire. But that's how I got started. And then they're addicting. So the process, oftentimes I kind of compare it to, kind of when you have all those butterflies and you're in the start box, and sometimes you're like, why do I do this? So in the middle of training a Mustang, it's kind of the same thing, because you're like, why am I doing this again? But you get rewarded through the process and those changes, and there's adrenaline pumping. So it's very kind of similar to, you get your fixes for sure.
So when you get them, then have they been broken in?
Absolutely not. They have just they've been called in what's called holding. So there are these. Oftentimes they have 100 horses in a pen, and they throw them hay and water. They don't touch them except for when they have to do yearlies on them. They'll send them through a squeeze chute, and they'll get their vaccinations and get branded and stuff like that. But or if oftentimes at some of these holding facilities, people can go visit, and some horses like to come to the fence and eat carrots and stuff like that. But they've not been trained or handled at all.
So when it comes to the handling then, I mean, we know what it's like breaking in a horse that has been handled a little bit, but these haven't been touched much at all then by human hand, halter led or any of that.
Mm-hmm. It all depends on the horse. I've had one of mine where within maybe an hour I was able to get on it. That was Rune. He was a pretty easy guy. And loved people. So it's just, they're all different personalities, and some, like I said, some can come around pretty quickly, and others you have to take your time. It's all on what the horse is willing to give, but it's definitely each Mustang is going to teach you something. So then that's another part of the addictive quality of having a Mustang. So to kind of help these horses cope with being in domestic, and oftentimes they love their stalls and will drag me to the barns, but the goal is to kind of help get each one out of holding, because there is that problem of the population control that they're having with them. So they are rounding them up and putting them in this holding facilities, but to raise awareness of adoption. And with these, we have the trainer incentive program. So trainers will go and adopt a horse or get a horse out and then train it, or at least to where it can be halter broke, load on a trailer, pick up its feet. So it's kind of ready to be green broke. And you can get those horses still for $125. So it's still really cheap. But oftentimes people just think it's too hard. But it's a big community of Mustang people, and it does take they can deal with some beginner people, but you have to have a little bit of smart. You have to be smart in dealing with horses. So.
Well, I'm just thinking then if you get them from these holding pens, they're just herded there and maybe not handled very much, so you possibly don't know too much about their background.
Correct. Sometimes they have like the herd, so certain herds are known for certain dispositions, size, stuff like that. But sometimes then you don't, or the BLM will have mixed up the information or something like that. So you just have to take the horse for face value oftentimes. And it's just about kind of, and again, the fun part is I've seen horses that will bounce off the panels like ping pong balls, and then 3 months later that horse is just sitting there with a foot cocked with guns shooting over its head, and it's quiet as can be. So you can't always judge them just on their flight when they're worried and scared. It takes a lot of work, but oftentimes it pays off.
But so then for people who are thinking, Mustangs, they're just wild. They are just wild and they're going to take a lot more breaking in. That's not necessarily the case then. You could have them come around pretty quickly, as you said. And how do they adapt to, the groundwork and the training then, Elisa?
Again, it depends on the horse, but oftentimes they they enjoy the work. I mean, the Fledge, my first one, he was so intriguing because he just wanted to work. And sometimes I had to like make sure, and he was so smart. So you have to be careful that you didn't teach them. You get kind of addicted, and you have to be careful you don't teach them too many things at one time. Because, so just trying to stay slow and steady, but they're so incredibly smart. You can really push yourself as a trainer to see kind of what you can do. And that's kind of the biggest thing for me, is that I still want to get better and better. Still, each horse want to do it a little bit better.
And then when it comes to jumping, what are they like, adapting to jumping? Can they jump like in a thoroughbred?
Oh, well, that's why we have to have a 6-foot panel when you get them. Yes, now the kind of the situation I've run into is that the height isn't the issue with a lot of them. I think for them being upper level horses, the width is the issue. So the scope, but like I said, there's lots of different shapes and sizes of them, so it just depends on finding the right horse. But Wynn, she loves to jump. Wynn and Rune, they both are like, they love jumping. And then I've had other ones that, weren't too keen about jumping, or they're like, fine, if you make me. It's very similar to a thoroughbred. If, whatever, like, I don't like flat work, this is stupid. Or if they like the trails or cows or whatever. But oftentimes they'll tell you what they like, but Wynn loves to jump. She'll see a jump and she gets excited. Or when I have to do a demonstration like I had to at the jockey club, and I had to walk past the cross country, that was like a nightmare because she was all like thinking like she was gonna go do it. I'm like, sorry girl, not today. So they're very typically, like I said, athletic horses, and yeah, we have to have a 6-foot panel for a reason.
That's awesome. And you, and as you mentioned on those demonstrations there, the makeover, the demonstrations, that whole thing, is that something like that's okay with you, having the reputation that you've adapted now because of the work you're doing with these Mustangs? I mean, how do you see that fitting into your professional career? Well,
I'm a horse trainer, so I feel that for me, the Mustangs help improve myself. And I learn a lot, and it's about, for me, the education. And at the end of the day, it can be easy to get kind of sucked into the hold of, oh, you didn't make the team, or you didn't, those goals of going to the Olympics and stuff. I always have those goals. I've had them since I was a kid. But in horses, your heart gets broken a lot, so you have to have other things to kind of keep you focused on. And the Mustangs do a good balance for me. If when I get kind of too focused on something, it can be a kind of going back to the foundations of what I do.
What is the highest level you've taken a Mustang to so far?
Wynn's the highest. She's done the prelim. So technically she went around a 1-star track at Red Hills, but so I mean I'm hopeful she'll get back up to the 1-star. I hope to do one in the fall with her. It'll be 2-star in the fall. So that will be kind of my goal with her. And then I'm just always looking for, my goal is to kind of do a Mustang at least a year, and if I don't keep it for myself to try to produce it up to levels, then I'll adopt it out.
So do you think there is a Mustang out there that would go all the way up to 4 or 5-star?
Absolutely. I have no doubt. I mean, if a part Shetland pony can, that's a little Ginger could. Now he was a freak of nature, love Teddy O'Connor, but I do think so. And I also get tired of people telling me that I can't do things. So one day
you're going to prove them wrong. And when you say that, obviously they're small, then they know the breed is small. What is the typical height they come to you at?
Probably the average is going to be 14.3. I have, now Rune is 15.1, so he's kind of a tall one. But now there are larger ones, but they can tend to be a little bit on the draftier side, because oftentimes you had the horses that were from the minors. So you had the draft horses, and you had some of the ponies that were in the mines. And then you also had ranchers who put out really nice thoroughbreds out back in the day. And then you also had the military horse, the cavalry horses that were, once the cavalry was up, they kind of let them go. So there's a lot of remount horses. So there are some nice type horses out there. It's just a matter if I can get my hands on one.
And they're coming to you from all states out west mainly. What are the main sources?
So Nevada has the highest population, if I recall correctly, of wild horses. So you've got Nevada, California, Wyoming, Oregon, Utah, New Mexico, and I might be missing a couple, but those are kind of like Colorado has them too.
And there's no shortage of them, and they keep rounding them up. And where do you find the pens, the holding pens? How do you know about those?
Right now they're in government shutdown, so that's a little. There is a holding facility in Oklahoma. There's the closest one to me is in Ewing, Illinois. And they've got a couple other bigger ones out further west. So in California, there's one called Ridgecrest, and then Burns, Oregon is where they had like 900 horses rounded up from a pretty good HMA, which is a herd management area is what it's called. So when you oftentimes say, oh, well, this horse is from this HMA, so we'll say like Warm Springs, or this horse is from Medicine Maverick HMA. So that's kind of how you can, that's this type of horse, or this is a bigger, more stout type. So those types of herds can kind of give you an idea of oftentimes. So there's some herds you might want to stay away from because they might be kind of flighty and tough. Or there's another herd that that has generally good disposition and good trainability. So
yeah, so take your pick, and there's a lot out there, as you say, hundreds and hundreds, and that are looking for a second home or even a first home. Really, I mean, it's not like off-the-track thoroughbreds, which you also lean towards as well, repurposing off-the-track thoroughbreds. So, in terms of anybody might be listening to this and thinking, well, maybe that might be fun to try on a Mustang. How would they go about it?
I would say to head towards the Mustang Heritage Foundation website. That's kind of a good way to kind of get started. I think the competitions are a good way. There's also the trainer incentive program, which is the tip makeover, which is a good way to kind of get your feet wet in doing a first Mustang. Generally, I say if people have worked with some off-the-track thoroughbreds that have been kind of tough, you should be okay with a Mustang. But what I really like about the tip challenges is that you don't have to do the riding. It's just an in-hand competition. So it's really a good way to kind of get in there. No pressure. And there's a fairly good community of Mustang people that are willing to help. And so that's what I would say. That would be the biggest place to kind of go and see. And then Facebook has a couple of really good groups. If you just type in like Adopt a Mustang is one. But it's a very good community that's willing to do anything for the Mustang.
So what if people are thinking, well, maybe not eventing, or maybe could I do dressage, just show jump onto, that sort of thing? Are they just as adaptable?
Absolutely. They're very versatile. Like Fledge, my first one, he is more geared towards dressage. He enjoys doing dressage. And then I have Wynn, who likes to jump. And then I had Dorado, who likes to do cows. So I had another horse named Nim, who's a Montana. He's a trail horse. So they are very, very versatile. They can do kind of, you ride the horse you have, and they come, like I said, in all different shapes, sizes, mentalities, different colors. It's like the rainbow. So for sure.
And in the price is right too. I mean, they're very affordable, right? To get a horse, and you'll be doing a horse a favor as well if you rescued a Mustang. But in terms of training them, you said how variable they can be. Like any horse, you would recommend somebody having some experience before they tackle these.
Some experience, or at least having a good support system. So if you have a trainer who has some experience, or you have someone around you who's willing to help you, I think, and of course, don't be afraid to reach out. Everybody is willing to help, because we want to get people as addicted as we are. So we are the worst enablers, I think. Hopefully for the benefit of the Mustang, but they are a good horse. And once you get, there's a bit of magic that when you're training a Mustang that you go through. So yeah, it changes you for sure.
And I was just thinking about, what else you do with them and in terms of the demonstrations that you do as well. Do you just get called upon because you're known as a Mustang trainer now?
To do the demonstrations, yes. And it really correlates really well with the eventing. So the high level eventing I do with Johnny helps me spread the word for the Mustangs. And then it's really fun to kind of see the two worlds meld. So then I have all my Mustang, like the Western people, because I'm more so English, obviously. But they then in turn watch all my helmet cams and are very intrigued by upper level eventing. So I'm trying to get everybody to kind of meld together and spread the word for eventing, as well as spread the word for Mustangs and Thoroughbreds. So.
Some cross-pollination going on there. You're benefiting both worlds, Elisa. So what's the big plan with these Mustangs and long term? Where do you see them sitting in your job?
Well, I will always have a Mustang for sure. Fledge, Rune, and Win aren't going anywhere. Those are my three main guys. So Fledge and Rune always do the demonstrations at Kentucky. And I don't know, we're going to see how far Rune wants to go as well. He's pretty talented. And then Win. And then we'll see. Like I said, my plan is to do kind of a new Mustang a year, training it. And then if it doesn't work out for me, I'll adopt it out. But then that way I'm helping a Mustang every time I do it. So with my goal of one day having one to compete in the upper level. So
we could see a Mustang in Kentucky, not just demonstrating, but actually going cross country with you. That'd be exciting. And now, of course, you're aiming for Kentucky. You're putting up with some pretty rough weather here right now, and it obviously very wet underfoot for you to train here. But you do train down in Ocala sometimes with Karen O'Connor.
I do. And what's nice is my dad recently relocated to Ocala. So it'll be nice to go down there and really get the help that I need.
All right, absolutely. And also get some sunshine, get the season off to a start, as you said, at Rocking House. That's coming up fairly soon too. Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. It's the end of the month. And so it'll be great because I have Johnny, Simply Priceless, and then I will have Sharpie, my Sharp Decision, the RRP horse in this past year, and then Munson Slew. So it'll be a fun thoroughbred weekend, kind of getting everybody's feet wet again.
Yeah, it certainly is. It'll be here before you know it. Well, thanks very much for taking time to talk to us, Lisa, and your very best of luck with the Mustangs and with the other eventers too.
Thanks so much.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
And you can find links to Elisa's social media on our website at wispsports.com, where you'll find the rest of the show notes accompanying this episode. And you can also follow us on social media, of course, at Wisp Sports. And don't forget to check out our Facebook Live shows that we do here quite frequently now with trainers, riders, coaches, athletes from all sports. So not just horses. So do check us out at Facebook and join in those conversations. And also, of course, you can contact us here at info@wispsports.com if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be launching some new shows this year too, so do stay tuned for that, because we try and cover every aspect of women in sport, no matter what your sport or where you are in the world. I'm Chris Stafford, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this and to supporting Wisp Sports and women in sport everywhere. Goodbye for now.